So I was very pleased when Saint asked me to speak this evening because bikes are very close to my heart, and so is craft. My qualifications for talking about bikes are that in 2009 I broke the world record for cycling around the world. I did that in 174 days. My other qualification is that I design and make furniture and have done so for about 12 years now. I don't necessarily describe myself as a craftsman because I don't feel like I've been doing it for long enough. This guy here, called Mr. Tanaka, I interviewed, he lives in Tokyo, I interviewed him. He's a third generation reed mat maker, and he's third generation, as I said, and he's been doing it for 50 years, and I would describe him as a craftsman, so it takes a great deal of time to get to that level. So my educational background, so to speak, is English literature, so I'm kind of obsessed with what words mean, and the etymology of craft is an Old English word that refers to power, strength and might, and this is something that I think we miss sometimes when we talk about craft. I don't know what that's in there for. So when just to give you a bit more background about why I went into craft, when I finished studying I knew a lot about how to read books quickly and make up opinions out of thin air. But I didn't really understand the world around me very clearly. And I read a passage in a book by Aldous Huxley where he talks about how we're very good at manipulating people and ideas, but we've perhaps forgotten how to manipulate things. So I set about kind of learning how to do that. And I guess I'm getting to a point now where I do other things, and I do want to start manipulating ideas, and maybe in a few years I'll get onto manipulating people. And so this is kind of the bicycle bit. I don't know if any of you know, but the Wright brothers originally ran a bicycle company where they built bikes, one-offs, for customers. The cost of them at the time in today's money would have been about $3,500. So they were real craftsmen, not going for mass production, but making those one-offs, and that's what sealing is all about. They then started having trouble because, so their bikes sold for about $150 at the time, and they started getting trouble because they had a big influx of bikes that were sold for $10, and they ended up canning the bikes and went into experimenting with aeroplanes, and we've got the aeroplane now. So this is the letter that one of the Wright brothers wrote to the Smithsonian Institute explaining what he wanted to do. I'll read it for those of you who can't read. I am an enthusiast, but not a crank, in the sense I have some pet theories as to the proper construction of a flying machine. I love this guy's attitude, I think that's amazing. I'm about to begin a systematic study of the subject in preparation for practical work, to which I expect to devote what time I can spare from my regular business. So what he's omitting there is his regular business is kind of going downhill a bit. But the key thing in that sentence for me is that they acknowledge that they have to begin a systematic study of the subject, so they kind of have to start from the very beginning to learn this new thing and to invent something new. And then the practical work comes later. This is the Wright brothers in their bike workshop. Thought that might be of interest. I also appreciate that they wear suits to work. I think that's important. So What I forgot to mention at the beginning was that half of my talk is this, and the other half is I'm going to read a short story, and I'll get to that in a minute. But this, to me, kind of sums up what it's about. Technological progress has merely provided us with more efficient means for going backwards. And to me, the bicycle is an idea that's finished, and we don't need to progress from it. It's a perfectly formed idea and is almost perfectly efficient. And I think a lot of people in the room who are cyclists will know that. So we're constantly looking for other ways of improving our lives and improving what we're doing. But in a lot of senses, the answers we already have. So this short story is by Julio Cortázar, and he's an Argentinian writer, and from the 20th century. It's a very, very short story, and I translated it with the help of a friend of mine from Mexico who's called Ulysses. He couldn't be here this evening, unfortunately. So it's called The Treasury of Youth. Children are naturally ungrateful. This is understandable because they do nothing more than imitate their loving parents. They come back from school, push a button and sit down to watch the latest soap opera. But it doesn't occur to them to think for one instant about the marvel of technology that is the television. Therefore, it may be useful to explain to children the history of scientific advancement at the first favourable opportunity, for example, the passing of a loud jet, in order to show young people the impressive results of human effort. The case of the jet is one of the best examples. Everyone knows, without having even travelled, what modern aircraft represent: speed, quiet cabins, stability, and long-range travel. Science, however, is an antonomasia for a search without end, and jets have been quickly left behind, superseded by new and more portentous examples of human ingenuity. With all their advantages, aeroplanes still had numerous disadvantages until the day jets were replaced by propeller planes. That conquest represented an important progression because to fly with less speed at low altitude, pilots were more able to establish direction and also to execute, in safe conditions, the procedures of takeoff and landing. Nevertheless, technicians will continue to pursue new and even more advantageous methods of travel, and thus unveiled, after a short interval, two further significant discoveries. We are referring to steamboats and trains. Thanks to these discoveries, they attained for the first time the extraordinary achievement of travelling at ground level, with the unparalleled levels of safety that this represented. We shall consider the evolution of these technologies in parallel, beginning with maritime navigation. The danger of fires. Sorry, for those of you who are following in Spanish, we're around here. The danger of fires, so frequent at sea, motivated engineers to discover a safer system. In this manner, navigation by sail was born, and much later, even the historians are not sure when, oars were discovered to be the most advantageous method of boat propulsion. Progress was considerable, but shipwrecks occurred time after time for various reasons, until technical discoveries allowed for the safest and best method for moving through water. We are referring, of course, to swimming, beyond which it does not seem possible to advance, although science is often remarkable in its surprises. With respect to trains, their advantages in relation to air travel were renowned, but they were superseded in turn by horse carriages, vehicles which don't pollute the air with smoke from oil or carbon, and which allow for the admiration of passing scenery and the vigour of the horses. The bicycle, the scientific pinnacle of transportation methods, is situated historically between horse carriages and trains, although one cannot define precisely the moment it arrived. However, it is known, and this constitutes the last link in the chain of progress, that the discomfort of carriages sharpened human ingenuity to the point that it soon revealed an incomparable method of travel, that of walking by foot. Pedestrians and swimmers form the crown of the scientific pyramid, as can be verified at any beach when one sees walkers on the seafront, who in turn watch with pleasure the swimmers in their exercise. Perhaps this is why there are so many people at beaches, since technological progress, although ignored by many children, has finally been acclaimed by all humanity, particularly in this age of paid holidays.